abusua ma munyina mu akwa baba Chroma TV GH new to the channel abomaden so be subscribe like video and share na abusua so leave a comment abusua MPP after some be your flag bearer you know in say the party no change you know Canada Agyapong camp versus me camp now to two Germany on left and right and some of them Kenya no the bia na mpanimfo na say party man be da e catch them say kabeya nkomunja course and some of them to a young pium continent TV so no radio stations are more to nina debi no NDC for and other opposition parties e be use against the woman tikabeya nkomun ten some of sorry anom ke kanoso abusua ampala MPP for every more premise ayi Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia the flag bearer and some you reckon the Agyapong kafa Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia hu bia no na NDC for the afa on the topic baby could be a no one sem no more boss somebody a chop on the sign. Nasisi another day a year so says or exempt some company be from the tax net. At a Sahano, a Babua companies now with me. I be more branches be Magana football and as a team of Bruno, especially the youth and Jumaya. I'm a piece for the unemployment rate was so Ghana no a swat. But if we are funny said another down one near my way in our boy a Kwaya and I say some plan master plan be offer say on befa so we scale free Ghana for almost say Ekow MPP ni Ekow akopie mu Roland Walker shows no kopie Roland Walker shows no Roland Walker bi can say me kire say one Canada Agyapong na one-on-one interview na nkomodidi mu ano yen nyina say Canada Agyapong ni some companies ba no businessman dey so we tycoon businessman kesi pa so one need to change no bisa number this nyama especially the tax exemption the companies you know no Kenya point say some of his companies the companies go and that tax exemption and so then sanka say nyama bu companies be bring and say aban be bring or mobile that tax exemption or nyam be from one so mo benefit be from mo fa mo bi akeke some of the time the companies go and tax exemption so mo that tax waivers no there are granted tax waivers companies now you over granting the waivers the waiver nanka chese ono so na ho atone me bibi afankofo no so that no money nyina ono ne sanka companies are hia no na won or wonya ba de wo hia nanka sa de ne sanka nsu ana Ekow so e ba respond say Kenya Agyapong de on my stories na work and the comments na work and allegation the comments more money nyina allegations in sana Roland and the book comment and say a serious comment and I say any serious comment. Abusua ide yankuti Ekow abroad no Roland etwetwe nkomo.
I interviewed him here right here in the studio. He says that.
Are you talking about fully foreign based?
No, of course they are based on.
So the qualifications that there should be a
listen to me.
Ghanaian
For which you have the
foreign based.
No, of course they are based on.
So the qualifications that there should be a Ghanaian
listen to me, please. Based on the GIPC laws, of course there has to be a partnership, etc.
Right.
But and we all know that there's been some agreement. Even Kenya Agyapong, one of the lead candidates for the presidential primaries of your party, for example, even did concede. He has a steel factory for which even exemptions that he wants, he would not get. But some other foreign partnered entities who at the end of the day will repatriate their net revenue outside the country are giving exemptions. Do you think realistically, and you said we should have a Ghanaian conversation, do you think that these exemptions should be given to some of these companies?
I have told you right here that for me, in the circumstances that we find ourselves as a nation, even though it is necessary for us to provide these incentives to these Ghanaian business because they have met the test or the qualification test.
Which test?
The test that yes, you should be a Ghanaian company, even if you are not a Ghanaian company, you should have a Ghanaian. It should be Ghanaian equity. If you're able to meet that test, of course, the process or the procedure that has been laid down by the Ministry of Trade, if you're able to meet them, then of course you qualify. And so the argument that Canada Agyapong will not or has not been able to assess some of these tax incentives and other foreign companies have been able to, those ones are without any basis. I think that he has said his story. But I think that in the circumstances,
Canada Agyapong's serious comments are just stories. Is that what you're saying?
How is that serious comment? And how is that unserious comment? Why are you describing it as serious and unserious and all those things? I am saying that he has made his own allegations. I cannot substantiate it here. I am telling you that for me, as a Ghanaian, my principle is that the 45 people or the 45 companies that we are giving these tax incentives, though relevant, but in the circumstances, there are about 1 or 2 companies that we need not include them in the list because they can stand on their own and be able, because some of the companies are already making profit. So the small ones who actually need the tax incentives to be able to stand on its own, to be able to provide the jobs that we already need. Because if you have a company that is already giving out about 5,100 jobs, but in its balance sheet, it is also making huge profit. Those companies can stand on its own, so that government do not have to spend some of this money or spend this huge money to be able to give tax incentives. Because the outside world is watching. The World Bank is watching. The IMF is watching.
The external creditors.
216 million to Century alone. I disagree. I don't think that government should be able to do that.
Oliver, put the list that are before Parliament on the screen so that I ask a question before I go to Mr. Adams. Now, Mr. Adams, if they are...
Well, I think that around this table, there's some amount of unanimity as to the tax incentives that are supposed to be given. Also, it is also important that, as Prof is saying, there should be some KPIs that is supposed to serve as an oversight so as to be able to assist in projections or future projections as to how some of these tax incentives are supposed to be given. But the point I made was very clear. The point I made was that...
Which is what?
One, it is important that government creates that enabling environment for companies to be able to subsist, for companies to be able to expand, and for companies to be able to give more jobs to the teeming young people that we have in this country. This is very clear, and I said this here. Now, as to the number of jobs that each companies have created, there can be an analysis that we can all go into as to whether or not it is important for certain companies to be able to assess tax incentives from government, especially because of their state or their status before a certain tax incentive was granted to them. But in the current circumstances, we are talking about people who have met a criteria that has been set out by the Ministry of Trade, that has been set out by the One District, One Factory, that has been set out by the GRA and the Ministry of Finance, that if you are able to meet this criteria, then you may qualify to be able to get these tax incentives. And I am of the opinion that whilst we have these procedures to be followed by companies to be able to assess these tax incentives, it is also proper to balance the revenue projections of a state, the current circumstances of your economy, with the current, if you like, the current projections that are made by companies in terms of assessing some of these tax incentives. That is what I have a problem with. And I am of the opinion that they should be able to generate a certain discourse. The discourse whereby there will be a Ghanaian conversation that because of the projections that we have with respect to our revenue, how can a government be able to balance these things so that certain strategic investment, the supposed strategic investment that government seek to be able to bring about, we can or we should be able to bring those things down so that we will be able to support
in the budget. What's the current deficits for the projected year?
I think I may have to check.
It's 50 billion. 50 billion.
That is okay.
Do you think that if we have 5.5 billion?
I wanted to add this.
No, don't add it. No, Vincent. Please. Let's not fight.
We are not fighting.
So 50 billion. 50 billion. Hold on. Don't you think we can do away with this?
From what
don't you think we can do away with this?
From what Prof said, if you check from 2013 to 2016, there was a trade deficit where our imports were more than our exports. From 2018 to 2022, I am just trying to demonstrate to you how some of these KPIs